The cameras flashed, the crowd froze, and just like that, Hollywood had a new obsession.
Or, in this case, a new heartbreak.
Yeah, totally. I want you to picture a deserted street in downtown New York City. The year is 2020.
Oh, wow, going right back to the beginning.
Right back. It's the height of the lockdown. The silence is heavy. I mean, it's almost physical.
There are no taxis honking, no tourists.
Exactly. Just empty pavement and the low hum of a city in hibernation. Two strangers pass each other on a road that is, usually teeming with thousands of people, an actress and a producer.
And he turns back to say hi.
He turns back just as she is glancing back at him. They're literally the only two people there.
It feels like the opening scene of a movie. It really has all the makings of a classic Hollywood romance.
Love blooming in a time of complete isolation, against all odds.
But if we flash forward to Friday, February 20, 2026, the setting changes drastically.
We aren't on a quiet romantic street anymore.
No, we are looking at the stark reality of the New York Supreme Court.
And that cinematic fairy tale that began in the silence of a pandemic has ended with the loud scratch of a pen on a legal filing. The headline broke instantly.
Alexandra Daddario has filed for divorce from Andrew Form.
And just like that, Hollywood's favorite pandemic romance has come to an end. Welcome to StarScope Report. I'm Jordan.
And I'm Jamie. Join us as we uncover Hollywood drama, music industry shakeups, and viral influencer scandals.
From red carpet surprises to social media controversies, we dive deep into the stories behind the fame.
Today we are doing a serious deep dive into the shocking split of the White Lotus star Alexandra Daddario and producer Andrew Form.
The internet is reeling over this. The headline we're centering this whole deep dive around is why Alexandra Daddario finally left him.
Because on paper, they were the absolute it couple of the post-pandemic world.
But we aren't just looking at divorce papers today. If you want just the basic facts, you can read a tweet. We need to look at the bigger picture.
We're talking about the pandemic acceleration effect.
We're dissecting the internet's favorite conspiracy theory, the Vogue wedding curse.
And we really have to talk about the incredibly emotional journey involving a rainbow baby caught right in the middle of this transition.
Okay, let's unpack this, starting with the hard news that dropped just yesterday.
The filing.
On Friday, February 20, 2026, Alexandra Daddario, who is 39, formally filed for divorce from Andrew Form, who is 57. This happened in New York.
And almost immediately, we got the statement.
You know the one. It's the standard Hollywood template. They released a joint statement to outlets like People and TMZ.
Let me guess, love and respect.
Exactly. It read, "The decision was made with love and respect, and the key takeaway they wanted everyone to focus on was the next line."
Which is usually about the kids.
Yep. They will continue to co-parent their child together and appreciate privacy as they navigate this transition.
Love and respect. It sounds nice, but you and I both know that in a press release that is often code for, we have a very good PR team, and we want to control the narrative.
It's shocking to the public because to the outside world, they seemed totally solid. They've been married for over 3 years. They tied the knot in June 2022.
Right, but we have to look at the context of those 3 years and also the context of their histories. This was Alexandra's first marriage.
And Andrew's second.
Yeah, Andrew is a veteran of the industry and of marriage. He was previously married to Fast and Furious star Jordana Brewster for 13 years.
And he has 2 older sons from that marriage.
So he has navigated a high-profile split before. He knows the drill. For Alexandra, this is completely uncharted territory.
It ends with a legal filing, but to understand why this hurts the fans so much and why it feels so abrupt, we have to go back to that empty street in New York.
Because that meet cute is legendary.
It's the stuff rom-coms are made of. But we have to remember the headspace of 2020.
It wasn't just romantic, it was a survival situation.
Everyone was isolated. Daddario was actually between places, reportedly sleeping on an acquaintance's couch while waiting for co-op approval. Yeah, it wasn't the glamorous life you expect from a star of her caliber. She was in limbo.
So Andrew passes her, turns around, says hi. They laugh about being the only 2 humans on the block.
And he asks to take her to dinner. It's the ultimate romantic trope. But because of the restrictions, their early dating life wasn't red carpets and paparazzi.
No, it was intimate. It was fireplaces at the Greenwich Hotel and quiet nights in.
And this is where that concept of pandemic acceleration comes in.
This is a very real psychological phenomenon we saw during that era. When you remove the outside distractions,
The travel, the other people.
the work schedules, the public opinion, relationships tend to move at warp speed.
Warp speed is an understatement here.
Hmm.
They met in 2020. By May 2021, they were Instagram official with this moody black and white cuddling photo that everyone absolutely obsessed over.
I remember that photo.
Then they admitted they agreed to marry each other one night in April 2021 after too much wine.
Which, honestly, is highly relatable.
The most relatable thing I've ever heard, but also really fast.
It is, but it also signals how intense that bond was in the vacuum.
Yeah.
You get to know the core of a person much faster when there's nothing else to do but talk.
But the danger of pandemic acceleration is what happens when the vacuum seal breaks, when the world rushes back in.
They got formally engaged in December 2021 while Andrew was working on Jack Ryan.
And then came the wedding in June 2022. And this wasn't just a wedding. This was an aesthetic event.
Oh, it was a massive
The
production.
visuals, it was in New Orleans at Preservation Hall. Can you imagine the heat, the jazz music, the history?
And her dress.
Alexandra wore this pleated silk wool gown by Daniel Frankel that looked like it was just melting off her in the most chic way possible.
And Andrew's sons, Rowan and Julian, were the groomsmen and ring bearers.
It painted a picture of a seamless blended family. It was featured heavily in Vogue.
The photos were stunning. They were literally everywhere.
But here is where it gets really interesting, or maybe a little superstitious.
Mm-hmm.
Because you mentioned the magazine.
I know where you're going with this.
If you spend any time on TikTok or Reddit, you know about the Vogue wedding curse.
I do. It's a fascinating pop culture theory.
The idea is that high-profile weddings featured in Vogue often seem to lead to divorce within a few years.
The Vogue to Quickie divorce pipeline, as the internet sleuths call it.
Obviously, a magazine spread doesn't magically cause a divorce, but some people think it's a sign of focusing too much on the image of the marriage rather than the marriage itself.
Well, let's treat that with a bit of nuance. It's not an actual curse. But when you invite Vogue into your wedding, you aren't just getting married.
You're putting on a show.
You are solidifying your relationship as a public brand. You are curating an aesthetic of perfection.
Yeah.
And that creates dissonance.
Because life isn't perfectly curated.
Exactly. If you are having a normal argument about whose turn it is to empty the dishwasher, but the world sees you as this glossy, high-fashion fairy tale.
The gap between reality and expectation gets very wide, very fast.
That makes total sense. It raises the stakes. You have to
Yeah.
live up to the photos.
And while correlation isn't causation, if we look at the timeline leading up to February 2026, there were actual clues that the reality wasn't matching the photos anymore.
Oh, absolutely. The internet detectives were on this way before the filing.
If you looked at their social media in 2025, the whole vibe shifted.
Drastically. In the early days, it was constant shared posts. Look at us, we're in love.
But throughout 2025, Alexandra's feed shifted almost exclusively to her work and her new journey into motherhood.
Andrew just slowly disappeared from the grid.
And then came the smoking gun, January 2026, the Golden Globes after party.
Right. In Hollywood, award season is couple season.
It really is.
If you are married to a major producer, and remember, Andrew Form is a powerhouse. He produced A Quiet Place and The Purge.
You go to these things together.
It's networking as much as it is romance. But Alexandra showed up alone.
A solo appearance at a major after-party is basically a siren in this industry.
It is.
And looking back, the last time they were seen publicly together was September 2025 at a mental health charity dinner. That's a lifetime in Hollywood years.
It heavily suggests they had likely been separated for months before this official filing.
They were keeping up appearances or maybe quietly trying to work through things.
But the physical distance was visible if you knew where to look.
Now, before we get into the really emotional part of this story, because there is a lot of heartache here that goes beyond red carpets, I have to say this.
Go for it.
If you love spotting these hidden Hollywood clues before the rest of the world catches on, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We've got even crazier stories coming up on StarScope Report.
You definitely don't want to miss what we have planned. But we do have to pivot here. Because while we analyze red carpets and Instagram likes, we can't ignore the very real human trauma that happened behind closed doors.
Right.
This wasn't just a glam romance that fizzled out because of boredom. They survived something incredibly difficult together.
Yeah, this part really gets to me. In an interview with Vogue back in July 2024, Alexandra revealed that she had suffered a very, very painful pregnancy loss before their son was born.
It's so brave of her to share that.
She said, quote, "Those kinds of losses and trauma are very hard to explain unless you've been through them."
That kind of grief changes the DNA of a relationship. It can bond you, absolutely. But it also adds a massive layer of fear.
Which explains her next pregnancy. When she eventually got pregnant with their son, she kept it a secret for 6 months.
Not just from the public. She said she couldn't allow herself to feel joy initially.
She was waiting for the other shoe to drop.
She distracted herself by filming season 2 of Mayfair Witches. Can you imagine the pressure?
Filming a hit show, carrying a secret, managing that intense anxiety, and trying to keep a marriage healthy.
It's immense structural load on any person, let alone a couple.
But then there was joy. Their son, their rainbow baby, was born on Halloween, October 31st, 2024.
I love the announcement for that.
It was so her. She posted a photo of the baby in a hospital crib covered in mini chocolate bars with the caption, "I thought this was a weird bowl of candy."
It showed her humor was still intact. Even after all that pain, it was a really beautiful moment.
But let's connect this to the bigger picture of the timeline. The baby was born in October 2024. The filing happened in February 2026.
That means this marriage collapsed during the first 15 months of parenthood.
That is the danger zone for relationships, isn't it? The first year of parenthood.
Statistically, yes. You have the sleep deprivation, the hormonal shifts, the complete shift in individual identity.
And in their case, a highly complex dynamic. Alexandra became a stepmom to Andrew's older boys, Julian and Rowan.
While Andrew was running Platinum Dunes.
And Alexandra is at the absolute peak of her career with an Emmy nomination for The White Lotus.
So do you think the pandemic acceleration wore off?
Like, they fell in love in a vacuum, but couldn't survive the chaos of normal life with a newborn and a blended family?
It's a very strong possibility. When you meet in isolation, you bond over just being present with each other.
But when the world opens back up, and you add the massive pressure of Hollywood schedules and the emotional toll of raising a toddler, the cracks start to show.
The perfect relationship faces the reality of logistics. It's romance versus reality. And usually, reality wins.
It's tragic because just last year, she called motherhood wonderful and said her son brings peace to her life.
And I firmly believe that's true. Even in the divorce statement, the focus is entirely on the child.
But sometimes the peace you find in your child highlights the lack of peace in your marriage.
Or the chaos of your environment makes you crave a simpler life that the marriage just can't provide.
Wow. That's a heavy thought. They survived real trauma together, but could they survive normal life?
The answer lies in how they handle the end. And the way they are handling it seems to be very efficient, very clean.
So, where does this leave them? We have Andrew Form, 57, back on the market, continuing his work with Platinum Dunes.
And Alexandra Daddario, 39, entering perhaps the biggest phase of her career, but doing it as a single mom.
I think professionally they will both be totally fine.
Oh, without a doubt. Andrew is an institution in the industry. Alexandra has proven she's more than just a sexy ingenue. She's a serious, dramatic actress.
But personally, this split really represents the definitive end of the pandemic romance era.
You're right. We watched them fall in love while we were all stuck at home. We lived vicariously through that gorgeous New Orleans wedding.
And now we are watching the reality check. It raises an important question about how we view these celebrity relationships.
We wanted them to be the fairy tale ending to a dark time in the world.
We projected that onto them.
But maybe the pressure of being that perfect couple was just too much to sustain when the real world came rushing back in.
From a deserted street in 2020 to a quiet filing in 2026. Another Hollywood romance that burned bright and fast.
It really makes you wonder about the long-term viability of those intense bonds.
It does. Is the acceleration effect finally claiming its last victims? Or is the pressure of maintaining a public image simply incompatible with the messy reality of love?
That is the million-dollar question. And as we see more of these 2020-era couples facing hurdles, I think we're going to be asking it a lot more often.
Definitely something for all of us to mull over.
For sure.
You've been listening to StarScope Report, where Jordan and Jamie uncover the stories shaping Hollywood, music, and pop culture.
Thanks for tuning in to this deep dive.
And don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.